My daughter's imaginary friend told her something terrifying. It started innocently enough. My 5-year-old daughter Lily had always been bright, talkative, and full of imagination. So when she told me about her new imaginary friend, I didn't think much of it. It was common for kids her age, and truth be told, I even found it a little adorable at first. His name is Charlie, she told me one afternoon, twirling a strand of her blonde hair as she colored. He likes to play hide and seek. I smiled and nodded. That's nice, sweetheart. At first it was harmless. I would hear Lily giggling in her room, talking in hushed whispers as if someone was responding. I chalked it up to a child's creativity and let it be. But as the weeks went on, things started to get strange. One evening I was tucking her into bed when she asked, "Mommy, do you believe in ghosts?" I hesitated. "Why do you ask, baby?" "Charlie says he used to live here. But he doesn't like you." A chill ran down my spine. The way she said it, so matter-of-factly, sent an uneasy feeling crawling up my neck. I forced a smile. "Sweetheart, Charlie isn't real. He's just in your imagination." Lily frowned, her small fingers twisting in the bedsheets. "He says you would say that." I didn't sleep well that night. The next few days I paid closer attention. I started to notice Lily having full conversations with empty air, pausing as if listening to someone else's response. It wasn't the playful chatter of a child anymore. It was different, darker. One afternoon, I heard her crying in her room. I rushed in to find her curled up in the corner, her tiny hands covering her ears. "What's wrong?" I asked, dropping to my knees beside her. Lily's lips trembled. "Charlie says you're lying. He says bad things happen to liars." My heart pounded. I held her close, stroking her hair. "No one is going to hurt you, baby," she sniffled. "He doesn't like that you don't believe in him." That night, strange things started happening. The baby monitor in Lily's room crackled with static, and I swore I heard whispering coming from it. Toys that had been put away were scattered across the floor when I woke up the next morning. The air felt heavy, oppressive. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. Then one night I woke up to the sound of Lily screaming. I sprinted to her room, my heart in my throat. She was sitting up in bed, her eyes wide with terror, staring at something in the corner of the room. But there was nothing there. "Lily, what's wrong?" "He's mad, Mommy," she sobbed. "He says you have to leave. Or else." I flicked on the light, rushing to her side. "Who's mad, baby?" She didn't answer. She just pointed to the corner of the room. A shiver ran down my spine. The air felt colder now, enough to raise goosebumps on my arms. I grabbed her and carried her to my room, holding her close until she finally fell asleep. But I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The next day I decided enough was enough. I called my sister, who was a firm believer in the paranormal, and asked for advice. "Burn sage," she told me. "And tell Lily to stop talking to it. Don't give it attention." That evening I lit sage and walked through the house, muttering prayers under my breath. Lily watched from the couch, her eyes uncertain. As I passed through her room, the air felt thick, almost charged, as if something was resisting. I ignored the feeling and finished, determined to put an end to this nonsense. For a few nights things were quiet. Lily didn't mention Charlie, and I started to believe it had all been a mix of an overactive imagination and my own paranoia. Then, on the 4th night, I heard her whispering again. I crept to her door, pressing my ear against it. "No, Charlie," she was saying. "I can't. Mommy said I can't talk to you anymore." Silence. Then, in the faintest, most breathless voice, I heard something respond. "She can't stop you." I slammed the door open, my pulse hammering. Lily turned to me, wide-eyed, clutching her blanket. "Mommy, you made him mad." I snatched her up in my arms and ran. I didn't stop until we were out the front door, sitting in my car in the driveway. I called my sister, my voice shaking, and told her everything. She came over with a priest the next morning. The house was blessed, every room cleansed. Lily didn't say much, but when it was done, she seemed lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from her tiny shoulders. A few nights later, as I was tucking her into bed, I asked, "How do you feel, baby?" She smiled sleepily. "Better. Charlie's gone now." Relief flooded through me. "That's good, sweetheart." But just as I was about to turn off the light, she mumbled something that sent ice through my veins. "He said he'll be back when you forget about him." I found a diary in an abandoned house, and the last entry was about me. I've always been drawn to abandoned places. There's something eerie yet fascinating about them. The silence, the decay, the forgotten history. Maybe it's the thrill of stepping into a place where time has stopped, or maybe it's just my own morbid curiosity. Either way, when my friend Josh dared me to check out the old Benson house, I didn't hesitate. The house had been empty for decades, standing like a rotting skeleton at the end of a long, overgrown driveway. Most people in town avoided it, claiming it was cursed. Some whispered that the family who once lived there had simply vanished one night. Others believed something had taken them. I didn't believe in ghost stories. At least not then. The moment I stepped inside, I regretted it. The air was thick, damp, like the inside of a crypt. It smelled of mildew and something faintly metallic. Rust, maybe? Or blood. The wooden floor creaked beneath my weight, the sound too loud in the suffocating silence. My flashlight beam cut through the dust-filled air, illuminating warped furniture, peeling wallpaper, and the remnants of a life long abandoned. I moved carefully through the rooms, my footsteps hesitant. Every sound, the groan of the house, the whisper of the wind through broken windows, felt too deliberate, too unnatural. That was when I found the diary. It was sitting on a small wooden desk in what must have been a child's bedroom. The cover was leather, cracked with age, the pages yellowed and fragile. A layer of dust coated the surface, except for the edges, as if it had been recently handled. A strange sense of unease crept over me as I flipped to the first page. The handwriting was shaky, uneven, like it had been written by someone who was either very young or very afraid. July 12, 1994. I hear them at night. The footsteps in the hall. The whispers through the walls. Mom and Dad don't believe me. They say it's just the house settling. But I know what I heard. I exhaled slowly, my fingers tightening on the book. July 17, 1994. Knows I know. My skin prickled. I turned another page. July 29, 1994. The shadows move when they think I'm not looking. They know my name now. I think they're inside the house. I glanced around, suddenly hyper-aware of how dark the corners of the room were, how my flashlight only illuminated a small circle in the vast emptiness around me. The diary entries continued, each one more frantic than the last. The handwriting became messier, ink smudged, as if written with a shaking hand. August 3, 1994. I can hear them whispering. They say they like me. They say I belong to them now. August 6, 1994. I saw it today. It smiled at me. But it wasn't a smile. Not really. My breathing grew shallow as I turned another page, my hands clammy. August 15, 1994. Mom and Dad are gone. They were here last night, but when I woke up, the house was empty. The doors were still locked. The car is still outside. I am alone now. I swallowed hard. August 20th, 1994. The doors don't open anymore. The windows don't break. The house won't let me leave. I suddenly felt the weight of the house pressing around me, the silence too thick, too watchful. My heart pounded in my chest, but I forced myself to keep reading. The last few pages were smeared, almost unreadable, as if written in a blind panic. And then I reached the final entry. February 27, 2025. I froze. That was today. The air in the room seemed to shift, turning heavy and suffocating. My pulse pounded in my ears as I forced myself to read the final, jagged lines. He's here. He's reading this right now. He doesn't know what's behind him. A wave of ice shot down my spine. My entire body went rigid, muscles locking in place. I didn't want to look. I couldn't. But I had to. Slowly, with every nerve screaming at me to run, I turned my head. The door I had left open was now shut. The air grew thick with something foul, something rotten. A slow, deliberate creak sounded from behind me, from the closet in the corner of the room. Something was breathing. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it was there. The flashlight flickered. And then, a whisper. Right against my ear. You found me.